Hi there everybody, I hope you're all enjoying the new year. You can guess what I've been doing with mine. That's not important because this will take far less time for you than it did for me. Now you might remember that I did a video just like this for Pokemon FireRed and LeafGreen, which stemmed from me never replaying them. It really confused me as to why, but I'm also really proud of that video, so check it out in the description if you want to later. This is actually sort of the same case, but not exactly. See, I actually just got inspired to play through Pokemon Crystal again using a Crobat in December of last year, so I do in fact replay the Gen 2 games. I've even done several personal challenge runs in Gold, like with Spinarak or Bellsprout, which were extremely fun to do. The reason that I got this idea was that Crobat couldn't learn Sludge Bomb, which was a little sad. I had to catch an Ekans that actually interested me, so Arbok could use Sludge Bomb, and that is the ugliest Arbok back sprite I've ever seen. So I thought, this wouldn't be a problem in HeartGold. And so it began, my descent back into madness, as I went through every Pokemon in the Johto Pokédex to see how they changed. Hello? Is anything gonna distract me this time? No? Awesome, let's go!
It's really starting to hail in the Colosseum!
Now, last time around I already had a video out that had detailed changes to the Pokemon and moves from Pokemon Red and Blue to FireRed and LeafGreen, which is why the changes video and the actual video they were for came out 3 months apart. Editing the changes video had very much burned me out, and I was not doing myself any favors in the editing process. Then, after all of that, I still actually had to play through the games and record and make notes and do whatever. I'm gonna wait until I've got this video done before getting that one started. As a byproduct of that decision, this section is not going to be redundant this go around. Disclaimer over, let's actually get to the changes. Gen 2 is actually pretty good visually. It's kinda like what they would have wanted to do with Gen 1 if given the same chance to try again, on the same Game Boy. Gen 1 does have a lot of charm in its overworld and Pokemon sprites, as flawed and conceptually abstract as some of them are, but Gen 2 is genuinely a stunning showcase. The overworld is pretty well designed, and having color helps in a lot of areas. The biggest glow up though has got to be the Pokemon themselves. While the occasional weird color or experimental design quirk is present, more so in Gold and Silver, almost every Pokemon is looking very nice, and more importantly, very clear. Huh? Oh, right. I'm not comparing it to Gen 1 in this video. Well, I feel like a lot more in-depth changes flow better in later sections. However, there are very many wide changes that don't disrupt the storyline I'm creating here, so let's go over a few. Just like last time, let's check on the visual differences. Sure, the Gen 2 trainers and overworlds look pretty good, but Christ man, check these out. Even if you might not be the biggest fan of these games, you can't deny that HeartGold and Soul Silver are one of the most beautiful Pokemon games of all time. There's barely anything here that I can't say wasn't improved. The Pokemon sprites in both games are works of art as well. Gen 4's take pretty much has every Pokemon's colors and designs sorted out compared to Gen 2, disregarding the color limitations of the Game Boy Color, but you can't really go wrong with either set of these. I will be fair that there are some sprites I don't like though. Arbok's Gen 2 back sprite is sunburned and disheartening, but Poliwag's Gen 4 sprite in particular very much irritates me. Like, how in God's name did they sign off on its eye looking like that? Well, whatever. The biggest change, not only to HeartGold and Soul Silver, but the entire Pokémon series, is the implementation of the physical special split seen in Diamond and Pearl. See, back in Gens 1, 2, and 3, a move was either physical or special based upon what type of the move is. Despite all Dark-type moves that were introduced before Gen 4 now being physical attacks, Dark-type moves were special somehow. Probably because Ghost moves were physical. Because thanks, Lick. It didn't matter how sharp your teeth are or how effective your Dragon's Claw was at tearing up the local homeless population. They better be thinking real hard during their attack if they want it to hurt. The opposite was also true. Sending out a gust of wind or a cloud of smog. Well, I hope that your talons are keen on ripping, and your, well, you get the idea. Pretty much every Pokemon is empowered by this change, but for the instances where this isn't the case, please check out this video by Jimothy Cool going over the topic at a later time. Also, every Pokemon has at least one ability, which is 99% of the time not a hindrance. A lot of abilities won't greatly impact a Pokemon's usability, but I feel that the new system changes and actually having Johto Pokémon available to experience them, that more abilities than ever are key defining saviors of some Pokémon, like Azumarill's huge power giving it any reason to be used. Of course, there's a good chunk of new moves and additions of old moves to Pokémon that greatly expand on stab, type coverage, and actually adhering to a Pokémon's primary attacking stat. Gengar and Sneasel can finally hit hard with stab-boosted moves, and Hidden Power being special for every type gives your special attacker the ace in the hole that it needs. Lastly, there's not really any glitches in either of these games that I can majorly put to use, so it's a straight shot from here. I think that's enough to go over for now. Let's dive into Gen 2 and see if I can find out if there's anything wrong with playing it.
From the blue corner!
For the purposes of this video, I've chosen to play through Crystal, since the remakes take several story beats from Crystal and it'll line up a little more closely. Anyways, we get to pick our character. Wow, this is inspiring. What this screen actually doesn't show you is the character design that you pick, so here she is. The character's name is Chris, but we name her Moggy, after my lovely counterpart. Brainer is here once again to cause me trouble, so let's see how far we can get. We start by picking up my child, Chikorita. Now if I wanted a starter that would really showcase the differences between Gens 2 and 4, then I would probably go for Feraligatr. But you probably know me at this point. Using the starter Pokemon wasn't going to happen. No, what we really start this team off with is the second in command, showing up before the big boss makes his appearance. Let me introduce you to Raticate, or Rattata right now. I mean, I really like Raticate, and there's some interesting matchups to go over, so I thought, why not? And of course, it's not Johto without youngster Joey. So I prove that my Rattata is superior and move on. The first few routes in Sprout Tower really aren't eventful, so maybe Faulkner stands to be a challenge. No, he does not. After picking up the Togepi egg, we head down from Violet City to the Pokemon Center before Union Cave, where we get to acquire the Old Rod that I didn't actually know was here. But what does the Old Rod mean for us? Yep, that's right. Please welcome back the leader of the team, Gyarados. His water and dark moves are all special, so that's not really cool, but I don't think it's going to be that much of a problem when we get Gyarados. Until then, Magikarp is getting switch trained. We clear out Slowpoke Well filled with exclusively Team Rocket grunts and sit and grind because I'm sandwiched between two tough fights. Ilex Forest would be a neat place to grind in, but Brainer is blocking the way, so we're gonna head back to Union Cave to grind for Bugsy, which my attention span can only take so much of. We go ahead and tackle Bugsy, and Rattata took an unfortunate death to Scyther, but Magikarp came into the clutch. And that right there is a perfect example of just how slow Magikarp gains experience. We then mudslap our way past Brainer so that Quilava can miss Ember as much as we miss Tackle. You know, a move that is so powerful that 100% accuracy is just too broken. The guy in Ilex Forest gives us the TM for Headbutt. It's a fairly great attack, I'll be honest, but we're not really using the field move to knock Pokemon out of trees, because right before this, I used an Apom in Crystal, and it was unreasonably terrible. What we're really after is on the next route with the daycare. Yes, breeding is available before the postgame, unlike in FireRed and LeafGreen, though it doesn't really add anything, because you're getting Pokemon that you already have access to, and if you're really gonna bust out for egg moves, then this video's depth does not surpass yours. No, I'm here to pick up the Crystal exclusive Odd Egg. The Odd Egg is a special egg that can hatch multiple different baby Pokemon. Not only that, the chances to hatch a shiny Pokemon are massively increased. You have a 14% chance total to hatch a shiny from the Odd Egg, and at worst, a 1% chance to get a specific shiny. If you're looking at the table, then you already know which Pokemon I'm going for. That's right, it's Tyrogue. Tyrogue sucks, but it doesn't suck when he evolves into our another returning member of the team, Hitmonchan. Even though we're still mainly stuck with fighting and normal moves, we do still have Reliable Stab coming later. Now the worst part of this encounter comes into play. See, I can't pick which Pokemon hatches from the Odd Egg without saving before I even collect it and resetting the game. Meaning, if I hatch a shiny, then it's gone. Unless I legitimately want to transfer it up to Pokemon Bank, restart the file, and replay through until the Odd Egg for another attempt. This is gonna hurt, but the show must go on. So get pedaling, Chris. Pedal that bike until it melts into the pavement, so we can see what sadness awaits. Attempt number 1 is... Tyrogue. Huh. I mean, the shiny one would have been better because this one's DVs suck, but I didn't have to throw away a shiny, so this is fine. And yes, you heard me right, DVs. This wasn't really necessary to go over in the FireRed and LeafGreen video, because it's not all too important for a playthrough, but Gens 1 and 2 have a primitive version of IVs called DVs. They're basically the same with different number ranges, but in Gen 2, they're actually the determining factor for if a Pokemon is shiny. This is funny because if you breed 2 shiny Pokemon together, there is a decent chance to consistently hatch new shiny Pokemon because breeding passes down DVs. The real reason I bring this up is because there's also a primitive system for EVs called Stat Experience. EVs are easy to understand. Every Pokemon gives at least 1 EV point in a specific stat, usually just 1, when you kill it. Every 4 EV points gives you a +1 to a stat at higher levels, so statistically at lower levels it should still be pretty easy to influence a certain stat. Sure, you can only have so many EVs to put into your Pokemon total, but it doesn't matter casually. However, Stat Experience is something that I don't really understand how influential each point is to actually change a stat. You can only have 252 EVs in a single stat, and 508 entirely past Gen 3, but Stat Experience goes up to a cap of 65,535 per stat, and each stat can be maxed out. You earn Stat Experience equal to the base stats of the Pokemon that you defeat. Say that you beat a Shuckle. you'd get 20 HP stat experience, 10 stat experience in each attack, 230 in each defense, and 5 in speed. This only really screws around with trying to evolve Tyrogue into your preferred evolution, meaning that for Hitmonchan, I have to basically only grind against Wild Geodude, which barely give a benefit, or Wild Onix, which gives a fairly good advantage towards defense, neither of which my Tackle or Dizzy Punch can actually take down by themselves. While I get that grinding done in the background, let's go and check on the rest of the team. We finally evolve up into Gyarados and Raticate off of the local trainers, and go to catch our next team members. Just north of Goldenrod City, we find the 1% encounter of Yanma, after many minutes of searching. So long, in fact, that I forgot to record it. I was so happy to find it. He's got the same problems as many bug types in Gen 1, where it's almost exclusively normal moves that we get, but maybe some TMs can help sometime soon. Now, I did really want to use Crobat again, because of the not learning Sludge Bomb by TM thing, but I could not justify having at least half of my team be weak to Electric, no ground types, and or 2 poison types, so I chose Nidoqueen to solve this issue. It feels like I either didn't catch one with good bulk DVs, or I'm just overestimating Nidorina and Nidoqueen's thickness, but we'll get to worry about that when Nidoqueen shows up. For now, we'll just evolve our caught Nidoran female into Nidorina. After what feels like 5 days worth of grinding rock types in Union Cave, we finally get a +1 on defense above attack, and hold it that way until achieving Hitmonchan. And he has no fighting moves for Whitney. But it didn't seem to matter all that much, really. I really considered using Pinsir on this playthrough, but I do have to skip over the bug catching contest to go up through Ecruteak City to get our final team member. Please welcome back Magneton, this time caught as a Magnemite. He's still a banger Electric and Steel type, which gives us such a nice defensive profile, it's almost impossible to pass up. With the base of our team finally gathered, we can continue our journey by visiting the dance theater. These kimono girls are up for a battle with their evolutions, and I can fight them in any order I want, and go a heal in between them if I want as well. After defeating them, we can talk to this nice man who gives us Surf, go beat Brainer in the Burn Tower to release Raikou, Entei, and Suicune, as well as take on Morty, the Ghost-type gym leader. To really do damage against the Ghost types, Raticate can use Dig to blow up the Gengar line on their ground weakness, while Gyarados' Special Bite has to take a handful of turns to actually get through opponents. With a physical Shadow Ball TM in hand and the ability to Surf, Johto now opens up widely. I go fish out a Moonstone from the ruins of Alph to evolve Nidoqueen, and head over to Lake of Rage to get Hidden Power, and get extremely spooked by this random guy in the middle of the forest in my sleep-deprived state. Also, hey, Red Gyarados. It'd be cool if Hidden Power gave some physical coverage to Gyarados or Hitmonchan, since it's either physical or special based on whatever type it is. Gyarados has Hidden Power Water. Well, that's useless. Raticate has either HP Dark or HP Dragon. I'm not sure, but neither are really helpful. Hitmonchan has HP Fighting, which is cool, but boring in all honesty. Yanma has HP Water, which is like the only way to utilize his higher special attack. Nidoqueen has HP Ice, which is really nice, but that Ice Punch TM was a quick purchase back in Goldenrod. And Magnemite gets HP Steel. This was a hard decision between Yanma and Magnemite, but ultimately Yanma having a special attack that also destroys rock types was the more important option. So, with the world so open to me, what did I decide to do? That's right, my absolute favorite part of old Pokemon games. Sitting and playing the slot machines. I only did this because I wanted Magnemite to have a stronger electric move than Thundershock, so I spent 3 days trying to muster enough attention and sanity to spend going through this bullcrap again. Now, the slot machines do have an occasional little assist that activates if you've lined up some big payout icons. Getting 2 of them lined up on the left and middle slots means that if you miss the last icon, there's a chance that it will click around a little bit, though this mostly still results in a loss. However, Gen 2 adds a Chansey that randomly appears extremely rarely and will egg bomb the slot and automatically give you the last big payout icon. I think I only had this happen twice, including the very last win that I needed, so it's absolutely not going to be a game changer. I swear this took me less time in the Kanto games, so much though that it Mandela affected me to thinking that they used to give out 500 coins instead of 300 because of just how long it felt like it took to get the coins that I needed. Unless Bulbapedia lied to me, but I don't care enough to go and fact check the games. Also, there's this card game that's like a roulette wheel, but without the roulette wheel. I'm not very good at it, so I mostly ignore it. After putting myself in the shoes of a Japanese salaryman, I finally have the TM for Thunder. Nope, not Thunderbolt, which I would have really preferred. Unless there's like a Pokemon that you want, there's not really much incentive to even come and play the slot machines, because your TMs are Blizzard, Thunder, and Fire Blast. The bare minimum reason you would have to come here is for a Pokemon that can't learn one of the elemental punches, which you can easily buy from the Goldenrod department store. And Magnemite doesn't have fists. So that I don't have to think about the slot machines anymore, let's just fast forward a little bit. After evolving Magnemite into Magneton, we can take the opportunity to go and blow through Chuck, Jasmine, and Price with very little problem. We walk into the radio tower takeover without any resistance to mollywop all the nameless Team Rocket executives, and notice that Raticate's backsprite has a disgusting little monkey arm. Ew. Then we book it to Blackthorn City to get dominated by Claire, and then get very beat up in her gym battle. No, seriously, she really put up a hard fight. I mean, look at the carnage here. Professor Elm rewards our 8 gym badges with a Master Ball that we can immediately take with us into Kanto. You know, in case I find my 8th shiny member of the Zubat family while grinding for the Elite Four. We beat Brainer for the final time here at the end of Victory Road, which genuinely took some effort, and then it's back to wild Pokemon. Now I know this isn't a Johto problem, but I'm really missing the Versus Seeker from Gen 3, because it takes so long to grind here. I mean, I could register the handful of trainers in the area to maybe, and I really mean maybe, call me for a rematch, but it's nothing compared to the rematch rate of the Versus Seeker, so it's not even really worth trying to do so. One final slow grind later, and I think we're ready to take on the Elite Four. Psychic Trainer Will doesn't expect a Steel type to walk through his front door, so we take the win fairly quickly. Koga was given a promotion from Kanto Gym Leader to Indigo Elite Four member. He decided this time around that Double Team was his ace in the hole, but we did eventually land enough hits to move on. Bruno was actually a little surprised to me because Yanma's wing attack actually killed Hitmonlee in one shot. Same with HP Water on his now singular Onix, which I absolutely called was going to happen. Also, we had to prove that our Hitmonchan was superior to his, which we absolutely succeeded in doing so. Dark Trainer Karen didn't put up as much of a fight as I expected, but I mean, what do you think is gonna happen when your Gengar gives up and Murkrow gets completely obliterated? Our final challenge here is Dragon Trainer Lance, who has graduated from Elite Four to Champion. I will admit, he did put up more of a fight than he did in our Red playthrough from the previous video. One of the highlights here was actually Hitmonchan surprisingly taking on the level 50 Dragonite one-on-one, with Ice Punch coming off of his pathetic special attack. We end the fight with a familiar Gyarados v Charizard fight, where Charizard doesn't immediately throw the game. A Surf and a Dragon Breath later, we claim victory and our title as the Indigo League Champion, with a time of 30 hours and 38 minutes on the clock. It honestly felt a lot longer given I did spend 3 days procrastinating, doing the slot machines and the grinding sessions, but it was still a fairly enjoyable experience. While I can't say that the team that I picked really felt fleshed out in their potential, like Yanma only having HP Water for special attack, and Nidoqueen only getting Poison Sting instead of Sludge Bomb, it still didn't feel like all my Pokemon were starved for options. If it wasn't for so many of the opposing wild and trainer Pokemon being at such a low level for a good chunk of the game, it would have been such a slog using Gyarados, Hitmonchan, and Yanma. I mean, Gyarados not having physical coverage besides normal moves does slow down his fights, and base 60 at special attack it's still workable, but that attack stat is like a juicy chicken that I just can't season or have with anything else to make it taste better. If Yanma didn't get a special hidden power, especially like HP Water, it would have just been a nightmare to use. Wing attack is nice, yes, but it and normal moves are gonna get Yanma nowhere. And Hitmonchan's Ice Punch and Thunder Punch just don't do enough good damage to scare more than like a Zubat or a Graveler. I mean, I'd rather have them as to not have them, but they're just sad. Although, speaking of the elemental punches, them being TMs is actually pretty cool. Giving nearly perfect special type coverage and being so accessible in the Goldenrod department store enriches a fair amount of Pokemon's move pools, so I can truly recommend giving this aspect of Gen 2 a go. Honestly, I had fun here. But what if we had a bit more of Gen 2? On a newer system, with a whole lot of differences to improve the experience. Yeah, we're going there, baby. On to the remakes.
And from the red corner,
We are given a wonderful introduction to the game by being asked if we are an inept child. No, I don't need any info, I can figure it out myself.
The world the mediocre cannot understand.
I'm sorry, Professor Oak, I'll never disregard you again. Not only does HeartGold automatically set the in-game clock because it's linked with the system clock, but we're also actually shown our character options. And that's not Chris. Oh, come on, Gold. How come Game Freak lets you have 2 girlfriends? No, this character is Lyra, who I think I like more than Chris. I'd say it's more because I see Lyra more among other things, but hey, it's not a problem either way. Something new in this game is that the character you didn't pick is actually a part of the story. It's not X and Y levels of them being a rival or whatever, but you have a friend that pops up from time to time. And no, I will not call this character Ethan, he is Gold. It doesn't make sense for this guy to be Silver if this guy isn't Gold. A useless rant aside, we head into Professor Elm's lab where we're given the option of our starters in this neat machine. Fun fact, you should always check each Pokemon when you start a playthrough, because it will actually show you if they're shiny on this screen. After that, you'll notice that your Pokemon actually walks behind you in this game. Yes, every Pokemon has overworld sprites that move along with you in a good, constant pace that doesn't have them left behind. Some of the huge Pokemon aren't allowed to walk in around certain indoor spaces, but outside is pretty much fair game for all of them. We receive our Pokegear and are actually allowed to change the little style of the screen on it, and then head west to Cherry Grove City, where the old man gives us a godsend in the pair of the running shoes in addition to our usual map. Heading north, we're also stopped by this guy and given a new key item being the Apricorn box. Yes, not only do we have a separate bag section for apricorns, there's actually no item limit in the bag at all. In Gen 2 they did update the bag from Gen 1, which had a 20 item limit and no pockets at all. There's 4 pockets for Pokeballs, TMs and HMs, key items, and everything else in your bag, each having a 20 item limit. This was also changed in FireRed and LeafGreen with an even bigger item limit, but it wasn't as big of a deal, so I didn't feel like mentioning it in the last video. However, Gen 4 makes this absolutely amazing by giving us 8 pockets, and each with no item limit whatsoever. So many times in Gen 2 I had to go and deposit items in the PC just to go back and pick up a single item or two in the cave or something because the bag was full. Now no more. Anyways, we scamper along until we can catch Rattata. Here on the summary screen we can see that Rattata has Runaway and a red defense comboed with blue speed, which sounds like a description of a drug addict, but I promise you he is not. No, see in Gen 4 each Pokemon has an ability and a nature. You can tell what stats the nature affects by the color of the text. In fact, they changed the colors around for more clarity in HeartGold and Soul Silver, having the red text be the stat that is raised and the blue text be the stat that is lowered. Natures aren't really important to a casual playthrough, but abilities are pretty useful. We'll see more of them later. How do you feel about things, little buddy? Me too. I bet he also enjoyed running through youngster Joey. Also different about this game is that after a battle, the enemy trainer will ask for your Pokégear number. This change has a couple other changes wrapped in with it. Getting a call on your Pokégear that isn't required for the story will not stop you in your path, because you have 2 screens. It will just ring on the bottom one a few times and you can choose to ignore it, or it'll go away if you go through a door. In case you're given a number that you don't want, lose the need for a trainer's number, or accidentally accept a trainer's number you weren't planning to, you aren't stopped from playing the game through your journey. However, there's also a catch. As far as I know, you can't delete a Pokégear number in Gen 4 for some reason. Back in Gen 2, you had to specifically talk to the trainer after their fight for their number. If you got whatever it is you wanted from them, and or got tired of them calling about some random bullcrap Metapod, you can just delete their number. But in the remakes, you'll just have Bugcatcher Wade and Youngster Joey trying to ring you up about some random Weedle or something that they beat 5 seconds ago while you're raw-dogging the Elite Four. It's only a minor inconvenience because the ringing's only on the bottom screen, but it's whatever. More importantly, there's a guy in the Pokemon Center that can give you eggs through phrases based on your trainer ID or something like that. If you're broke or can't be bothered to go catch a Mareep or Wooper, who are literally on the next route to the south, then you can get them here. The big ticket item here is actually a Slugma egg, allowing Slugma and Magcargo to actually be available in Johto, instead of Kanto exclusive like in Gen 2. I mean, he's cool, and if you didn't pick Cyndaquil, it's another fire type for Bugsy, I guess. I'm only picking these up in case they're a shiny, so we'll see later. At this point, Rattata has learned Bite, which I didn't know it missed out on in Gen 2. So let's take a look at the improved move screen. While Gen 2 did actually tell you the type, base power, accuracy, and a small description of the move, Gen 4 says whether the move is physical or special. Yes, that's right, Gen 4 introduced the physical special split, which I explained in an earlier section. But that means that the newly promoted Elder Lee of Sprout Tower is taken out quicker by a physical bite. Such a novel concept of physical bite. Faulkner was close to being a threat, but now we can visit the Pokemart and actually see how many of an item we have while making a purchase, which helps the OCD keep multiples of 5 in my bag. Also, buying 10 regular Pokeballs at the same time rewards you with a Premier Ball. It's one of my favorite Pokeballs, even though it's exactly the same as a regular Pokeball. I don't know why, but I have like 700 of them in Pokemon X. Don't ask. Exiting the Pokemart, a Kimono girl seems to be very interested in the egg that we'd received from Mr. Pokemon, and she asks us to take care of it. Sure. What I'll absolutely take care of, though, is our future ringleader, Magikarp, which we fish up on our way. A cool thing about Gen 4 is that it actually keeps track of which Pokeball a Pokemon was caught in, so you can show off a range of different balls that you feel match your Pokemon. we got a cool netball for Magikarp, and a plus attack minus defense nature is fairly okay. I mean, it's not really gonna help him now, but let's see what he thinks. Yeah, me too, buddy. Oh hey, my eggs are ready to hatch. Let's see which one of them are shiny. No, 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 no. Well, great, that was useless. We head to Azalea Town and watch this guy get assaulted by a Team Rocket grunt before finding this new Team Rocket executive named Proton, who is now the head of the Slowpoke Whale operation. I do still need to go grind a little bit before I advance, so I'll just go do that in the cave. Huh? But I already hatched all of my eggs. Let's just see what's in this mystery egg. Oh, hey, it's Tyrogue. Okay, look. I bred an egg using the gift Tyrogue and a Ditto on the other save file before this video and traded it to myself so I could get it. But look, this is Crystal's fault. If it wasn't for the odd egg, none of this bit would have happened. Besides, Tyrogue isn't gonna be able to help much now anyway, so he can just relax in the back. He does seem pretty chill though. Sensing harder fights in our near future, we evolve Rattata into Eradicate, and he seems pretty excited about it too. After easily clapping Bugsy and Brainer with Raticate, we find this Kimono girl in Ilex Forest. She says she's lost, which I believe is a lie, because she's not even in the maze section, and you can see the exit from here. Also, the Headbutt guy is now a move tutor. Instead of giving us a single-use TM for Headbutt, everyone gets it for free. Goldenrod City has some very great changes here in the remakes. Sadly, the elemental punches are no longer TMs at the Goldenrod department store, but they're replaced by Blizzard, Thunder, and Fire Blast, the original TMs from the Game Corner. So you don't have to spend so much time grinding those darn slot machines. Not only that, we've also got the TMs for Solar Beam, Focus Blast, Hyper Beam, oh wait, this isn't Gen 1 Hyper Beam, and some status moves that I don't care about. Actually, since Flash isn't an HM in this game and there's 100% accuracy, it actually does have some merit here, so it is what it is. But if Blizzard and the gang are in the department store, then what does the Game Corner hold? Actually, the best moves to get from TM. Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, and Flamethrower are here, in addition to Substitute, Swords Dance, and Rest. These TMs are great, but we also have some good items that our coins can buy. The Silk Scarf boosts normal moves, Metronome boosts moves used repeatedly, and the lenses are here for higher accuracy or a higher crit chance. All of this is sealed together by our brand new game to play for coins at the Game Corner. Let me introduce Voltorb Flip. Voltorb Flip is a game that is sort of the love child of Minesweeper and Picross. You score points by finding the multiplier numbers that are hidden on each row and in each column. You are told how many points there are in the line and how many Voltorb are in the line as well. Flipping over a Voltorb immediately loses you the game and any coins you've collected so far. I could gush so much about this game for so long, even though I always seem to lose a 50-50 guess, but whatever. I actually really like playing Voltorb Flip and figuring out the puzzles. However, I did find a Voltorb Flip helper website by accident when looking up something about the game. You just put whatever numbers the game gives you into the website and it will walk you through the game. Now, it doesn't guarantee that you'll win every time, but it will give you a fairly strong statistical chance as to which squares that you pick. I'll be back for some of these rewards later, but for now, let's round out our team a little bit. Yanma is found in what feels like less time than before, and Nidoran female is caught without much effort. We also evolved Magikarp into Gyarados, and with the EV system making sure my defense actually increases in impactful ways, Tyrogue evolves into Hitmonchan in record time. We're pretty pumped for the Whitney fight from what I can tell, and that spirit proved to be enough to get by without much issue. I usually don't have a problem fighting Whitney even with the flinches and the rollout and whatever, but I understand the complaint. After Whitney, we can actually access a brand new area called the Poké Athlon Dome. You can pick 3 of your Pokemon to bring into a set of 3 minigames in a row that are supposed to be related to a certain category. I mean, sure, the minigames are pretty fun for the most part, but what's the reward for doing them? Well, you can exchange the points that you win for prizes like apricorns, Moo Moo Milk, and most important, Evolution Stones. Back in Crystal, you had to register specific trainers to your Pokegear and wait for them to not only call you, but also not call to talk about some random whatchamacallit that you don't care about. Now you can take evolving Pokemon into your own hands. Although you can only get 1 stone per day and you have to wait a whole nother day for the next stone to come in, and manipulating the clock in this game is a little finicky, so you still have the option of the Pokegear if you really are desperate. Getting through all the commotion, we go and catch our last team member in Magnemite. Given that we have access to Thunderbolt at the game corner, I can tell this will be a lot more interesting than last time. In the Ekritik Dance Theater, there's only one Kimono Girl here, and she's getting bothered by a Team Rocket Grunt, which was no problem at all, and the nice man still gives us Surf. We also release the legendary dogs into the wild and go take on Morty. I actually found the TM for Shadowclaw on the route east of here, so I gave it to Nidorina to try against Morty, but she wasn't really putting up the damage I really needed, so the rest of the team took care of him. Once again, the game is widely open to us, so let's recap a couple things quickly. We go and fish out the Moonstone from the ruins of Alph to evolve Nidoqueen, who was our designated surfer this time around, because I thought it was funny. The Lake of Rage is flooded, so that random guy in the forest is probably just drowning or something. However, we can still get the TM for Hidden Power. Gyarados has HP Bug, which is actually pretty cool, but Hidden Power is special in this gen, so it's not really gonna help all that much. Raticate has HP Ghost, but Bite and Crunch are much better. Hitmonchan has HP Bug, far more useless than it was for Gyarados. I was really hoping for HP Water again on Yanma, but HP Steel is still competent against most rock types. Nidoqueen has HP Electric, but I mean, Thunderbolt is right there if I want it. And finally, Magnemite has HP Flying, just like in LeafGreen, which is really cool. It's not really that good, so I grant Yanma HP Steel to use instead. Look, I know the game just opened up, but I took the time to farm the Goldenrod department store lottery for some items, which definitely wasn't just me procrastinating from wanting to go further in the game. Each day at the top floor of the department store, you can pull from a lottery and get a TM or a special type of Pokeball, or even, some berries if you are really interested in that. I probably should have looked up that we were getting the Drain Punch TM on the next route instead of waiting for the day with Drain Punch and Lottery, but I'm really stoked Hitmonchan has a great fighting move. Flash Cannon gives Magnemite a special Steel move, and it's also just pretty good by itself. And Yanma actually gets Bug Stab. Special Bug Stab no less, with a TM for Silverwind. During my time waiting for the lottery prizes to change, I was actually having so much fun with the game that I went exploring places I'd never really spent time going through before. I even encountered Raikou and Entei a handful of times. Friend Ball, no. Friend Ball, no. Friend Ball, yes. I also used the Voltorb Flip Helper website to get the coins for Thunderbolt and gave it to Magnemite for Reliable Stab. Thanks to the lottery, we actually have enough Oran Berries to make the Miltank at the farm healthy again, which I didn't care about doing back in Gen 2. The only reason I'm doing it here is because we get the Seal Case in return. Ball Seals were introduced in Diamond and Pearl and let you slightly customize the effect that happens when your Pokemon comes out of their Pokeball. You can have bubbles, petals, and confetti, a cool little fire burst, I continue a little grinding and evolve Magnemite into Magneton, and then we have... oh.
From the blue corner, Ambipom, Mamoswine. And from the red corner, Tangrowth, Yanmega. Licky Licky will be lucky to get through this crisis.
That's right, our Yanma gets a new evolution in Yanmega, which is very exciting. You can also access the new Ambipom, Mamoswine, Tangrowth, which I wish I could have used in this playthrough, and Licky Licky before the post-game. After using Apom in a Crystal playthrough right before starting production on this video, I can assure you that having Ambipom is a gift from God. We take a picture on the shore with our full team and wipe out Chuck and Jasmine quite easily. One thing that I have left out of the recap so far is this new encounter with the character Balboa. No, I'm not dyslexic, Game Freak is just wrong. He is the warden of the newly constructed Johto Safari Zone. It wasn't available for us to access really before Jasmine, but a call on our Pokegear lets us know that it's now open. Not only is there a new Safari Zone, but there are completely new routes with trainers and wild Pokemon to find, like Diglett now being available in Johto. On these routes there's actually a big group of double battles you can do, which you know I'm a massive fan of. I know there were some earlier, like in Bugsy's gym, but I wanted to acknowledge them here since our team is fully evolved. The Johto Safari Zone is actually quite cool because it harbors some Johto Pokémon that actually weren't available in the Johto region in Gen 2. And here is where I would have had a little bad explanation of the different zones you can find Pokémon in and placing down objects, but I don't have to because Lyra made a website, released a video during this video's production, that actually goes over the Johto Safari Zone, so I highly recommend going and watching that after this. However, if you're just looking at the base forms of each Safari Zone, you can find Pokemon like Misdreavus, Murkrow, and Larvitar, which are greatly welcomed, as well as our old friend Mr. Mime. We bust on through the Mahogany Town rocket hideout and find two new executives, the disguise-prone Petrol and the "why does she remind me of somebody?" Ariana, before going to admire Price's new outfit. Besides the architects of the Johto gyms absolutely maximizing their space, the gym leaders themselves are looking so much better with these designs. A good chunk of them just looked like regular people, but these redesigns truly invoke a higher status as gym leaders. We can't actually access the radio tower after Team Rocket takes over because of the guard saying that we need to be part of Team Rocket to enter. Conveniently, in the underground, there's a photo booth with a Team Rocket outfit that we can actually take a picture in during the game, and we use it to go and infiltrate. Gyarados seems to like it, so I don't know. Of course, our cover is immediately blown by Brainer ripping the outfit off of us. We blow through the three executives and obtain Waterfall for Gyarados on our way to Claire, and easily clear out with Hitmonchan's new physical Ice Punch. Professor Elm congratulates our conquering of the Johto gyms by giving us our Master Ball and telling us that some beautiful kimono girls, which we've been helping along our journey, were looking for us. But I ain't got time for that, the Pokemon League awaits. Here's what I would say if it wasn't for Gold preventing us from going into the Kanto waters. We were forced to go through the storyline here. Back in the Dance Theater, you are tested by the 5 kimono girls themselves. They are much stronger than they were back in Gen 2. Not only that, you must beat all 5 of them in a row. No healing, no nothing, just battle. We then go through a beautiful fall leaf scene introducing the Bell Tower. At the top stands the Kimono Girls, who perform a wonderful ceremony which summons a legendary Pokemon Ho-Oh for you to encounter. Unlike some later generations, you can actually kill it to proceed. The Kimono Girls aren't necessarily psyched if you do this, but you can try again after the Elite Four. However, I did save beforehand and actually try to catch it, because why not?
Oh my god!
And there we go. Now we can head to Kanto. I'm not sure I understand how Victory Road is built so differently compared to the 3 other versions I've played so far, but it doesn't ultimately make a difference. We utilize some of our team's coverage in our final fight against Rainer, and take a small grind and move reworking before hitting up the Pokemon League. Psychic Trainer Will is looking very snazzy, but Bite being physical and Bugsy's TM for U-turn giving Raticate a chance to heavily damage and then pivot are massive advantages for taking him down. Poison Trainer Koga is surprisingly overwhelmed by Yanmega, with Ancient Power clearing out the Bug and Flying types, and the now special Shadow Ball TM from Morty breaking through the rest. Elite 4 veteran Bruno was actually a little more difficult, but all I needed to prove was that our Hitmonchan was still superior. Dark Trainer Karen actually looks much better in that yellow, and her team was pretty tricky. Her Gengar actually had Focus Blast, which absolutely clapped Eradicate, but we got her back by freezing Vileplume off of Hitmonchan's Ice Punch. I actually had a really smart play here, where Eradicate's return left Murkrow on low HP. So the next turn, since Murkrow was so low, I clicked Crunch, because it was gonna kill it anyways, and she switched to Gengar to blank the return. But obviously, I clicked Crunch, so Gengar took half damage, and then got clapped by Focus Blast. It's finally time to face Dragon Trainer Lance and take our title as champion. Hitmonchan's physical Thunder Punch does absurd damage to his Gyarados, which was not really possible back in Gen 2. Gyarados' physical Waterfall just barely misses the kill because I didn't want to grind a little bit more. The level 50 Dragonite's Outrage is physical, so Hitmonchan takes more damage, though that's more because it just got a crit. Gyarados has the new move Ice Fang, which is physical, so that easily takes care of the level 50 Dragonite. Magneton's Thunderbolt cleanly zaps his Aerodactyl, and Hitmonchan's Ice Punch with Gyarados' Bite finish off the last Dragonite and grant us our final win. Becoming the Indigo League champion had us take a journey of 39 hours and 3 minutes, but I absolutely enjoyed most of my time here. Legitimately, Gyarados having physical moves other than Strength, Raticate having Crunch and U-turn, Hitmonchan's elemental punches actually using his physical attack, Yanmega not only beefing up but running a buffet of special attacks, Nidoqueen getting Stab, Sludge Bomb, and Earth Power, and Magneton's Thunderbolt, the new special steel moves, made this experience so wonderful I can't really put it into words. We do have a couple more sections to go over, but just know that the smile on my face using this version of the team cannot be overstated.
The Colosseum battle is now at its final stage. A stronger opponent is going to appear.
If you remember from last time, I was never really interested in going over the post-game in FireRed and LeafGreen because I don't care about the Sevi Islands. I will be skimming over the Johto post-game this time around, but I actually do like it. It's just that I usually don't have the motivation to go through all of it, so I'll just give you a little summary here. You're allowed to actually access the entire Kanto region and face off against the Kanto gym leaders, including Blue taking over after the disappearance of Giovanni, and Koga's daughter Janine keeping the family tradition alive in Fuchsia City. Beating all the gyms allows you access to Mount Silver, a place with tough wild Pokemon and a true final boss, a fight against Pokemon Trainer Red, who would be a challenge if he happened to find one Thunderstone in his entire journey through 2 regions. I remember the Gen 4 versions of the post-game being easier to understand and certain story beats as on how to progress. It's been a few years since I've played it, but I've played the Gen 2 post-game slightly more recently and remember struggling a little bit to get through. Not only that, but Gen 2's Kanto region had to cut some corners to actually get it to fit onto the Game Boy cartridge. Certain areas feel smaller, and the deforestation of Viridian Forest, Blaine being stuck in a 5-tile wide cave, and other things. Not being limited to a Game Boy cartridge, Gen 4 adds a whole lot more things available to you. New rewards like receiving a Kanto starter from Professor Oak and a Hoenn starter from Steven Stone, gym leader rematches through use of the Pokegear, and the full force of the Battle Frontier right outside Olivine City. See, in Crystal specifically, there was the Battle Tower, one of the 5 sections of the modern Battle Frontier that was actually available as soon as you got to that point in the game. I can't say it's necessarily the greatest addition, considering I did one fight with level 20 Pokemon, and the literal first opponent was a Blissey with Toxic and holding leftovers, probably with highly trained stat experience and DVs, so I don't really recommend going there unless you've actually trained up a team. However, Gen 4 has the full Battle Frontier, and it's such an amazing place. If you wanted to breed and perfectly train up Pokemon, then you have your standard battle facilities, but you do have some facilities with a few gimmicks. My personal favorite is the Battle Factory, where you're given a choice of 6 random Pokemon from the facility, including even Hoenn and Sinnoh Pokemon. You pick 3 and go through 7 battle sets with those Pokemon, being able to trade one of them with the opponent you just defeated. Even though I never go and play through Kanto, I can always make time for the Battle Factory and the Battle Frontier in general. Heck, even after I got done recording footage for this video, I even went and played through like 5 to 10 sets of the Battle Factory just because I love it so much. Boy, I hope they bring this awesome feature into newer games.
What's that about? The battle's just started and a Pokemon is being beaten up by its own teammate?
Now, even though I've grouped together Gold, Silver, and Crystal, I've gotta elaborate on the differences between Gold and Silver versus Crystal. Oh wait, hold on. See, you remember how HeartGold made getting the evolution stones so much easier than Crystal making you bank on random NPCs giving you a random call for a random chance of getting your stone? Boy, you don't know how lucky you are for the opportunity for an NPC to even tease you about giving you a stone. Why is that? Because in Gold and Silver, you get 1 Fire Stone, 1 Thunder Stone, 1 Water Stone, and 1 Leaf Stone. Well, that's fine. Where are they? They're at Bill's house, in the far top right of Kanto, in the Postgame. Yep, hope you weren't wanting to use Vaporeon or Arcanine or Executor. You're stuck with their unevolved forms in your fight against Lance. That right there should be enough to convince you to only play Crystal for the majority of your Gen 2 playthroughs. But Crystal also has the Odd Egg, which gives you access to some cool Pokemon, and a higher chance of them being shiny, so it's pretty good. But honestly, if you're not using a Stone Evolution and don't care about the Odd Egg, there's not much of a problem playing Gold or Silver, but Crystal is just usually the better option. I know we've been here far too long, so let's try and wrap it up.
Game, set, and match!
Okay, so let's review our original question. Are Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal worth playing anymore? Especially over HeartGold and Soul Silver? Look, I'm gonna make it very clear. The Gen 2 Pokemon games are not bad. They're not my favorites out of the bunch, but going through Gen 2 Johto was a nice experience. Gold and Silver's evolution stone problems and overall Pokemon just still lacking in reliable stab and worthwhile coverage moves does take away some variety and add some challenge, as well as some occasional confusion and frustration. But I can honestly say that I still play these games again and again. But when you're pitted up against a pair of some of the best Pokemon games in the entire franchise, it's not really a fair competition. Gold, Silver, and Crystal are good games, but HeartGold and Soul Silver are them, but more vibrant, more beautiful, more full, more fleshed out. more focused on providing Pokemon and the tools that they need to succeed. I knew I loved these remakes, but I was legitimately surprised at just how much fun I had playing through HeartGold. Here's to hoping that one day, Pokemon can not only shine with the care and passion that went into HeartGold and Soul Silver, but that we can experience these old games again on a future system, so that people like us aren't forced to pay hundreds of dollars on these masterpieces. Ultimately, either Johto adventure you go through will be fun, but playing them back to back, I just can't praise HeartGold and Soul Silver enough. I'm recording this outro before I get any of the editing done, and I know it's gonna be a lot bigger of a project than I fully expected going into this, although I think that's more just because I have more to say about these games. I had more things I wanted to go over with in the recording process, and I actually made a whole lot more notes than I did last time, and I don't know, I didn't expect it to be this long, but then again, I love rambling, as you all know. I'd like to thank anyone that's watched even a little bit of this video. I'd like to thank you very much for watching, and if you would leave a like, that would be pretty good for my mental health, as I've been set back a couple weeks just from procrastination and not really feeling all that good, so any little help is much appreciated. But I'm gonna leave some text on the screen, probably saying if anything happened in the editing process or whatever, but yeah, that's enough from me. Thank you all for watching very, very much, and I hope you have a good day.